Yeah.
Okay.
So let me introduce you.
Yes, sir.
Hello, folks. Good morning. How are you? Hello. Hello. Can all of you hear me? Okay, great.
Yes.
So today we will do installation of Hadoop on Linux box. So my colleague Santosh is here. He is going to walk through the installation. Okay, step by step. And this installation document is in the web. We're going to use the one which is already there in the web, so that it is easy for you guys to refer. Okay. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I believe that we got the map reduce concept. So we got Hadoop file system done. We got some basic Unix commands done. I think it is time to get into hands-on. So these instructions that are here are easy to. So after the session, when we go to the next class, maybe we will give you two classes so that you will be able to install this on your own. Okay. In the next class, we should be able to discuss. If you have any issues, we should be able to discuss. Okay, Santosh, you can go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, sir. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Hello. Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes. Initially, I would recommend everyone to open this particular link. Okay. So
you are sharing now, Santosh, so you can walk
yes,
through the beginning.
I can just okay, fine then. Here is the document for Hadoop installation on 12.04. That's Ubuntu 12.04 version. Okay. So initially, what I would recommend you to do is try to install Ubuntu Linux 10.04 on your box. Okay. And try to get the latest version of Hadoop, anything like Hadoop 1.1.1 or 1.0.3 as recommended, and try to install it. Okay, and please do have Java JDK 1.6 version of greater than like 1.7 is much more better. Okay, and now let's start installing JDK. So to install JDK, let's go through this command here with sudo apt-get install sun java 6 like JDK, which we can see here. Okay, and normally what we can do is we can download the JDK file from Oracle Sun, from the particular website, and then we can install it. We can download the tar file. Okay, and then we can install it on our system, on a box. And then once you install JDK, and try to save it in particular location, like which we have here, user library Java. Normally we save it in our local system, like user local, or create a separate folder for that, like Java or JVM, and then just save it in there. Okay, and then here is the command. Once you finish installation, this is the command where we can check our Java version. Okay, just type in, and these are the details you'll get, and you can just check like what type of which version did you install on your box, which type of Java version you installed on your box. Okay, and yes, these are the basic things which we need to install prior moving forward for installation. Before installation, these are the things which we need to install. Okay, and the next thing is we need to have a particular, dedicated user in order to install Hadoop file system. It's not necessary, or neither it's compulsory. But why we want to do that is so that we can have a separate user dedicated only for this Hadoop complete infrastructure and everything. So it's better, it's recommended. So initially, in order to create a particular user, okay, just create a group named Hadoop. Okay, just add, this is the command sudo add group. Okay, this is the command for creating a group named Hadoop. Okay, and then later let's create a user, HD user, his name is, okay, and then adding this particular user, HD user, to the group called Hadoop. Okay, so we are adding this particular HD user to the group called Hadoop. This is a command. Okay, so this will add the user HD user to the group Hadoop. Okay, so let's move on to the next step. That's nothing but configuring SSH, secure shell we call it. And why we are doing this is when we are in when we want to talk to each other in the same network or between two hosts. Okay, normally we need to have this security thing, so that we just need to rectify each other, so that this person can access my system, and then so that I know him. In order to do that, we use a secure shell, where secure shell allows, I mean, it doesn't ask you, it doesn't, I mean, the password doesn't prompt each and every time you try to log in. Okay, so once we establish the secure shell between two systems, I mean two hosts, then you can easily directly log into the particular host, and then you can start accessing. So these are understanding between two systems, I can say. So these are the commands I can send. Like here we are moving on to the particular user, that switch user to the HD user, which we created earlier, a dedicated Hadoop queue. Okay, once we get move into that particular dedicated user, we can later this SSH key. Okay, we are generating SSH key. Okay, hello, yes. And then later we are copying this particular SSH key into the authorized keys. Okay. And this is the command you can see here. The one which we generated the SSH key, we are copying it to the authorized key. So, and then before that, I would recommend you to install. I mean, sudo apt get. We have another command which is named like sudo. Sorry. Yes, sure. This is a command sudo apt get install SSH. This one command which will install SSH, and try to run the other command, that is sudo apt-get install rsync. These are the two commands which you need. I mean, these are the two commands which you need to install. I mean, SSH and rsync while configuring SSH. That's a secure shell. Okay, and okay, so that's about SSH. And then yeah, disabling IPv6, I would recommend actually will be in disable mode. So or else you can do it by using this command. See, we can just go get into the system control configuration file, which we have here. I mean this one, and then just add these lines at the end of the file. Okay, once you reboot your machine, okay, then the IPv6 will be disabled on your system, on your host. Hello. Okay.
Hello, any question? Hello?
Hello. Yes, sir.
Anyone have questions so far?
Why do we disable IPv6?
Well, see, IPv6 generally you will not have any network related to IPv6 in your environment. IPv6 is not there yet. Okay, so we are still using IPv4. So only that is not actually required. That step is not required. In case you run into issues, you use that step. Okay.
Hello, Santosh.
Yes. Yeah. Hi.
Actually, I'm Rohit. I joined late because of some connection problems.
Okay.
So can you just repeat a few points if you don't mind?
Yeah, sure, Rohit. I'll do that for you. And before that, I'll just like you to open this document in case, if possible. That's Michael and all. This is the document which I'm using for installation of Hadoop. Okay. So
Okay.
what I would recommend you to do is initially your box, okay, should be using. You need to install this Ubuntu Linux 10.04. Okay. This is a version which we recommend you to install on your system, and then try to download any Hadoop version. That's Hadoop 1.03 or 1. Latest versions we have 1.20, okay, 1.20.0 or 1.1.1. We have so many versions, okay. So once you install them, and then you need to have Java JDK, okay, configured on your system. That's Java JDK 1.7. Okay, that's recommend 1.6 or 1.7. Okay, and once you install Java JDK using these commands, or else you can install Java. You can download the particular file and then you can install it. Hello. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and then once you after installation of all the necessary softwares, what I would like to do is, what we would do is will create a separate user, okay, so that he's completely dedicated for this Hadoop installation and for this Hadoop processing completely. Okay, so initially here what we are doing is we are creating a user named HD user. As you can see here, HD user, he is a dedicated user, he's a Hadoop user, okay, and then we are adding him into this group named Hadoop. Okay, so once you add him, okay, now we have a particular user named Hadoop HD user who is only dedicated for Hadoop installation and Hadoop processing, everything, so that he is not he doesn't get involved with your person, your other users. Okay. So normally when we do this within the same user, right, you'll sometimes you get some conflicts. So that's why we don't want to indulge anything in any errors, or we want to be on safe side. That's why we are creating a separate user. Okay, and then later the configuring SSH. That's nothing but that's security. Whenever you're in a cluster mode, or whenever two hosts, whenever they're trying to contact with each other. Okay. So we need that particular security between them, okay, the type of understanding of the particular sync between them. So what we need to do is we'll configure SSH on both the systems.
Hello, Santosh. Hello. Hello, Santosh. Can you hear me? Hello. Can all of you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Santosh, you're there?
Santosh seems to be offline.
Santosh went offline. So let me continue, folks. So 1 second, I think he's calling me. Hey, Santosh, tell me. Okay, I'll continue. Thanks. Bye. Okay, guys. So why are we doing all this? Basically, we are installing Hadoop. Okay, so that you will be able to play with it. So the basic prerequisites are you need Linux box. Any Linux box. You can use CentOS, Ubuntu, Red Hat, anything. So the first requirement is you should have JDK installed. So try to download the JDK. Okay, it's better if it is up latest one. 1.7 is better. You can go to Oracle website. So all of you will be able to download it, or do you expect us to send us a clear instructions where to download? That's a question.
We can download.
Okay. So if you are having any issue, let me know. Okay, in downloading JDK. So once we download JDK, that JVM is required because the whole Hadoop system is built on Java. Okay. So then the second step is we need to install SSH. SSH is required because you will see later, this is a very good admin tool. It is called a secure shell. So when you run Hadoop on cluster, the master is going to make connections to slaves and issue SSH commands on the remote server. So since the cluster is going to work very closely, in the sense that all the machines should be able to communicate with each other, and this happens transparently, in the sense that once you install the cluster and then it's up and running, the commands that are used for communication is SSH, right? When I say communication, it's not directly communication per se, but it is basically when a master wants to start a server on the slave. Okay, when a master wants to start a server on the slave, SSH is being used. So that is the reason why we need SSH on all the machines. Okay, in all the machines in a cluster. So whereas here we are running SSH on a single node cluster. Okay, we are trying to create, since we don't have so many machines, we are trying to create a cluster in a single machine. Okay, so that's what we are trying to do. We are trying to do everything in one box. So if you guys have Windows boxes, you should download VM Player. Okay, VM Player is free. Okay, you guys, you guys are with me?
Yes.
Okay. So let me go to. So as an admin, right? As an admin, you will be installing Hadoop left and right. Okay, it's important that you understand that, because so what I mean by that is, you will be installing on many machines multiple times. Okay, so I think I'm looking for Hadoop installation. So we are following this document so that you can use this document from the web as it is. Right, so this is where we are going. Right, so once you have SSH being installed, so the way you do SSH is, you basically, in case of Ubuntu, you do a sudo opt-get. Okay, so this is more for JDK. You can do a JDK installation in Ubuntu like this. So once you have that, you make sure that you have a dedicated user. So for the single node, let us use only one user. For a multi-node cluster, what we will do later is, there are three components in Hadoop. One is, you might have seen, there is HDFS, right? And there is MapReduce, and there is Hadoop framework. So when we install the cluster, we would actually be later on, when we do Hadoop operations, that time we will tell you that it is the best practice to have three different users for these three different roles. Okay, so Hadoop file system, Hadoop and MapReduce, we will install them in three different users. Okay, so that's how we will do. We'll do later that. Then next step is to configure SSH. Okay, so make sure that you have SSH installed. And once SSH is installed, you can also do sudo opt-get open SSH-server if SSH is not installed. Okay, are you guys with me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so any of you not following, let me know. We will go a little bit more detail. Okay. So once you have the SSH installed, then the way to, so what we have to do is, we have to give permission to this machine so that it can do SSH onto the same machine without a password. Okay, again, I will tell you again, this is very important because as an admin, you will be facing this right from day one. When you want two machines to communicate with each other using SSH, when you want to start, let's say you have machine 1 and machine 2, when you want to do SSH from machine 1 to machine 2, generally SSH will not allow unless you give a password. What we are trying to do is, we are trying to configure SSH so that it will not ask for the password. So the way to do it is, first you issue a command called SSH keygen -t RSA -p. RSA is the encryption algorithm. You can also use DSA. Okay, RSA and DSA are two different algorithms. -p is the password. You are setting the password to null. Okay, so once you do that, it will generate two keys. It will generate two keys. The first key is private key and the second key is public key. Okay, are you guys following me?
Yes.
Okay, so the private key is for yourself and the public key is for others. So what you do is, you take this public key and append this public key to authorized keys. See this command? Can you all of you see this command? I have highlighted it. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically what we're trying to say here is, the public key of the master has to be present in all the slaves, including the master. So what we're trying to do, there is a file called authorized keys in Unix. So this is little bit core Unix. So for those who are not familiar to Unix, you might want to learn little bit about SSH. It is not big deal. If you try it 3-4 times, you get it. So don't get disheartened. If you don't know SSH and Unix, it's a very simple thing, but you just have to try it multiple times. So in fact, Santosh, my colleague, has before he learned Hadoop, just guess how many times he has installed Hadoop. He has installed at least 12 times. And I say I made him to install again and again until he becomes completely thorough with that. So similarly, if you are an admin, you will get variety of issues while installation. So only way to become an expert is, you keep, install it, uninstall it, or install another machine, things like that. So if you find any issues, try to solve them. That is the only way you will become a better admin. So this step, what we are doing is, we are copying the public key into list of authorized keys, so that when somebody makes SSH call to this machine will not ask for the password. Okay, so that is the purpose. So how do we test? The way we test it is, you just do an SSH localhost, then it will not ask for the password. It will straight away give you this shell prompt on that machine. Is it clear?
You said it would give the shell script on the screen, and that point is not clear.
Yeah, so if you want to test whether SSH is configured or not, we just do a command called SSH localhost. Okay, so when you do SSH localhost, we are trying to log into localhost, and then you get a shell prompt. You get this message, and then you get a shell prompt. So that means that SSH is working in your machine. Okay, is that point clear? So if you have any issues with SSH, you can do enable debugging SSH minus V localhost, minus triple V localhost, and you can investigate the error. Okay. Is it clear?
Yep.
Okay. So don't worry about IPv6. By default, the machines that comes with it, they are disabled. So you don't have to worry about it. Only if they are enabled, you will get into trouble. But they will never get enabled. It will take some more time to get into IPv6 for us. Okay. So now let's enter into Hadoop installation. Okay. So now we have taken a host and we have prepared the host for Hadoop installation. The next step is to install Hadoop. Okay, so you go to this link called download Hadoop, okay, and download a version of Hadoop which is 1.0.3 or 1.0.4 or 1.1.1. So again, there are multiple versions of Hadoop. There is Hadoop 1 dot and there is Hadoop 2 dot. We are not covering Hadoop 2 dot here. We are covering Hadoop 1 dot. Hadoop 2 dot is the latest Hadoop version, and it is not completely tested yet, and it will take some time for people to adopt it. So most of the people today are using only 1 dot. In fact, they're not even using 1 dot. They are using 0.20.2. Okay, but 0.20.2 and 1.1.1, there is not much difference. So we are going to use Hadoop -1.1.1. So download that Hadoop from Apache, apache.org, or its mirrors. It's self-explanatory. I'm sure you must have downloaded other software from Apache. Once you download it, you extract that file. Okay, and then rename that Hadoop directory to Hadoop -1.1 or 1.0.3 to Hadoop, so that you don't have to type long names, right? If you have Hadoop -1.0.3, every time it takes time. So, but it is also good to have a version number. If you are comfortable, you can just say Hadoop 103. That is better than just Hadoop. Okay, so that you will know which version of Hadoop you are using. Then you change the ownership of the Hadoop to Hadoop. Remember, we are copying it in user local. Not necessary to copy in user local. It is okay to copy in your current working directory and then uninstall Hadoop. Okay, so the next step is, once a very simple step, it should be straightforward. Once you do that, what you do is you have to set up some environment variables in Linux. So in Windows, you set the environment variables using Windows control panel, system, and environment variables. Whereas in Unix, most of the time, you set the environment variables in .bashrc. So in your local environment, under Hadoop user, under HD user, there is a file called .bashrc, right? So this is the environment that we would be using. So you can set Hadoop home. Hadoop home is equal to the place where you installed Hadoop, then export it. Similarly, export Java home directory where, set Java home to the directory where Java is installed, export it. Then this additional commands are not really required. If you want really easy way to access Hadoop, you can basically alias alias fs is equal to Hadoop fs. Similarly, alias Hadoop list is equal to fs minus ls. So this will allow you later on when we use these commands, it's easy for you to just type in some commands on command line and understand it. So that's the reason this alias is required. Okay. Is it clear so far? Any questions? So we are basically doing 3 steps. We are preparing the host by installing JVM and OpenSSH server. Second, we are configuring SSH. Third, we are installing the Hadoop by just extracting the downloaded file. And then fourth, we are setting the environment variables. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm sure the Ashok has covered the Hadoop file system, right? So I'm skipping that, but it's not. We will cover it one more time later on, because you will, when you practice commands, you will definitely see lots of lots of times we'll touch upon this Hadoop file system. So now, once we have this done, we need to start Hadoop. Right? So in order to start Hadoop, before we do, there is one more thing that we have to do. So there is a Hadoop env.sh, Hadoop-env.sh file. This file is present in your Hadoop installation directory, and then there is a conf directory. Under conf directory, you would see Hadoop-env.sh. Okay, so you open that file, and in this file you would see that you have to set Java_home again. This we have to set Java_home again. Okay, so this is little, initially this will, as an admin, this may create some problems here, because we are setting Java home in the user environment variables already. So the question is, why do we need to set it here? So Hadoop, what Hadoop-env.sh is used is, this Hadoop-env.sh is used by the whole Hadoop system, right? And it needs Java_home. And then, so whether you set it in your environment variable or not, it has to be set in Hadoop-env.sh, and it is a must, because Hadoop will run this file before it does anything. So for that, it needs Java_home. Hence, we need to set Java_home in Hadoop-env.sh. Because Hadoop is going to use this file to run the same Hadoop, to run it on multiple slave machines. That time, this Hadoop-env.sh is used. Hence, Java_home has to be set in this file as well. Okay? Is it clear? All of you can see my screen? I'm typing something. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have Hadoop installed in my machine here in Hadoop 0.20.2. Let me go to 1. Version so it is easy. So this is the Hadoop installation directory. So you can install anywhere, right? Right now it is my Hadoop installation directory. Sorry. It is my Hadoop installation directory. So what I do is, I go to conf directory and I do ls. There are a lot of properties here, but mainly we'll be working with 4 or 5 files here. Okay. The first one is going to be Hadoop env.sh. So if you're not comfortable with VI, you can use Notepad. In Linux, you can use gedit. You can use gedit. It is like a notepad, and people who are familiar with Windows use that editor easily. But since I like VI, I use VI. So you open this Hadoop p.sh and you set the home java_home to the path that is the path where Java is installed. That's all. Don't touch any of the other parts of the file. Just you set only java_home. Okay. Once you do that, so then there are 3 more files that we need to set. First one, vi core site.xml. And it is first time when the machine comes, install this. Okay, the file will be something like this. So we need to change this file configure. Okay, so I'm not sure Ashok has covered this. There are 3 different ways you can run Hadoop. First, you can run on local machine. You can run on local machine as a standalone Hadoop installation. So you don't need any of these configurations except Hadoop-env.sh. So when you get Hadoop and install it, you will see that this file is empty. So with this file empty, you can still run some Hadoop examples, but that is only for developers. So they can run Hadoop without a cluster, but that is for testing their programs, and that is for developers. Whereas for administrators, 99.99% of the time, you will have to configure this file. 3 files. Okay. So this file, at a minimum, it requires 1 property. The file name is core-site.xml. So this file will tell where Hadoop file system is running. This file will tell where Hadoop file system is running. The property that needs to be configured is this property, which has a name and a value. The name of the property is f.default.name, and the value is hdfs://localhost:9000. So this is the name of the machine where Hadoop file system is in. So suppose if it is cluster, this localhost will be the actual name of the server where Hadoop is running in a cluster. So right now we are running Hadoop in a standalone single node cluster mode. Okay, as I said, there are 3 ways. One is you can run Hadoop as a developer. It doesn't require any configuration. Second, you can run Hadoop in the local machine as a pseudo distributed cluster. It is called pseudo because it is not real cluster, and we use this pseudo distributed cluster to demonstrate the capabilities of fully distributed cluster. Since we will not have multiple machines in the class during training or during learning period, Hadoop designers have come up with a alternate configuration called pseudo distributed installation. A pseudo distributed installation, what we do is we Hadoop just like fully distributed, but everything will run on a single machine. So that is the difference. And the third way to run is fully distributed mode. In fully distributed mode, what you do is you will have multiple machines you will be installing Hadoop on all machines, and then then you will have two types, the masters and slaves. So in the master you will configure, and the slaves also you will configure, and then you will run Hadoop. So we will cover all these three ways. Right now what we are doing is we are doing pseudo distributed installation. In the pseudo distributed installation, we took a Ubuntu machine, we installed Ubuntu, we installed JVM, we downloaded Hadoop, we extracted it, we created a user, we configured SSH, we configured Hadoop-env.sh, right? And then we are here trying to understand the configuration a little bit more detail. And there are three files. One file named -site.xml. This will be by hearted. You cannot escape as an admin. If somebody will ask you, where do you configure Hadoop file system server? This is the name of the file. There is no escape. You have to remember this. Okay. These three files I'm going to tell. You have to write it down. core-site.xml. And you should know these files in and out. Okay, as an admin you should know these files in and out. So the first property that we said properties, but at a minimum we need one property which will say exactly file system is installed. This is that file. I'm going to quit this file. Open one file. I'm going to say map red-site.xml. Another file. You have to put this again. map-site.xml. This file we are saying Hadoop that in this file configuring the machine where job tracker is doing. So I am sure now we know what is job tracker, right? All of you know what is job tracker?
Yes.
Okay. So job tracker is the compute side of Hadoop. Parts, the compute part and the storage part. The compute part is taken care by job tracker, and the storage part is taken care by the Hadoop file system. Okay, so the data is stored in Hadoop file system and the tasks are executed by the job tracker. Okay, so job tracker is the master where it will manage all the task trackers. So we will see that. So don't worry if you get in bits and pieces, the puzzle is not complete. It will take some time. So don't worry about it. Okay. So this file, you remember that we are going to configure job tracker in this file. That's all you remember. And the property you should remember by heart as an admin, mapred.job.tracker. It is configured to run on. It is configured to run on. It is configured to run on localhost :9001. Okay, it is configured to run on localhost and the port number is 9001. So I'm going to save this file, come out, and then I'm going to open one more file, hdfs-site.xml. Okay, so there is this hdfs-site.xml has minimum one property. In fact, you don't need even this property. By default, this property is set to 1. Okay, by default this property is set to 1. Now this file is very important because we are saying I'm going to copy this property 4 times. Okay, I'm going to copy this file property 4 times. I'm going to say dfs.name.directory and I'm going to say dfs.data.directory, and the value I'm going to say is /. let's say you are going to put in Hadoop /home Hadoop / data directory / name node. Okay, so these three files, these three properties are important in this file, and this file name is hdfs-site.xml. So this first property controls the replication. So I'm sure you must have known now, when you copy a file into Hadoop file system, that file is split into 64 megabyte blocks. That file is split into 64 megabyte blocks, and that blocks are copied into different machines in Hadoop file system. So even though it is a single file, we are not storing this file as it is. We are chopping it into pieces. Each piece is a block, and each block is configured to be of size 64 MB. Remember, in Hadoop, we are not dealing with small files. We are dealing with gigabytes and terabytes. Hadoop is not for storing small files. You can still store small files, but performance will be very bad. It is meant for storing large files, and it is meant for doing lot of computation. Hence, why Hadoop file system is required, we will see later as we understand, and why the file has to be split into blocks. It is split into blocks because each machine in the system can store one block. So if you are trying to read a file, and if you have only one hard disk in the system, when you are trying to read a file and if you have only one hard disk, the capacity of read is limited by the capacity of the hard disk. But if you have 20 machines and you have a file with 20 blocks, and these 20 blocks are in 20 machines, and when you read the file, you can read all the blocks at the same time. Hence the speed of read is 20 times faster than a single machine. Is that clear?
Yes, but how do we decide it is 64 MB or 128 MB?
You can configure your Hadoop cluster to be of your own size. Different enterprises use different sizes. By default, Hadoop uses 64 MB. But if you are dealing with huge files, you can also make it as 128 MB. You can also make it 32 MB if you are dealing with medium large files. It is up to the administrator and the kind of data that you're dealing with. Okay. Now comes, what is the replication factor? We said we are dividing the file into pieces, blocks. Each block is located somewhere. Right? What if that particular machine fails? Then the block is gone. If that block is gone, then the file is useless to me because the file which requires this block is gone. So in order to prevent from failures, in order to prevent from any network failures, disk failures, CPU failures, power failures, we are replicating these blocks. When I say here dfs.replication is 5, every block of every file, there will be 5 copies in 5 different machines. So even if 2 or 3 machines goes down, Hadoop will still be able to get your file because it has 2 more copies. The default value in standalone configuration is 1. The recommended value is 3. Is it clear? Okay, so let's move on to the other two properties. These two properties again you have to by heart as an admin. It's very important. DFS.name.directory, it has a value, and DFS.data.directory. The DFS.name.directory, what is it? It is the directory where the Hadoop file system master called the name node, I'm sure Ashok must have discussed the name node, will store all its files. Again, it is the directory where the Hadoop master, which is called as the name node, will store all its files here. As an admin, name node is going to be your managing name node is going to be your 80% of the task, because if name node is down, Hadoop file system is down. If Hadoop file system is down, the cluster is useless. So 80% of the time, this name node is going to be your baby. You have to keep track of your name node. You will see later on, you will have to do a disaster recovery or a high availability on name node, because even if the name node goes down, you need a backup machine for that. You need a redundant machine. So later on in subsequent parts of the course, you will see that how to make name node so robust that it keeps running forever. But in this case, what we are saying, the directory in which the name node will store its files in the local file system is specified by dfs.name.directory, and this is very important. If we don't specify this file, you can still run. If you don't specify these two properties, you can still run Hadoop on your local install, but by default it will pick up directories in /temp. /temp is a file system. It's a file system path in Unix. It will pick up /temp. So every time you reboot the machine, /temp might get cleaned, may get cleaned. Hence, you will see every time you restart, you will say name node is in an inconsistent state. It may be in inconsistent state. So to avoid such kind of issues, you will have to set the name of the value for this directory as a directory where the directory is reliable and the directory is always present. Okay. So the dfs.data directory is the place where the blocks are stored. So you know from Hadoop file system class that there is a process called data node on every machine in the cluster. On every machine in the cluster, there is a process called a data node, and the data node job is to just store blocks. It doesn't know anything about the files. Its main responsibility is that whenever it is asked to store blocks, it will store blocks. That's all. It doesn't know that this block belongs to this file or that file. Its job is to only manage and store blocks. Those blocks are stored in directories, subdirectories, multiple directories. So Hadoop supports hierarchical file system, and the file system is maintained by the name node. It's only maintained. The data is not in the name node. Only name node knows about the file system structure. It doesn't have the data. The data node has the data. So data node responsibility is to store the data in blocks and report to the name node. Every time it restarts, it reports to the name node with a block report. It says that I have these many blocks. That's all it will say. And the name node, what it does, once it receives the block report, it will check whether these blocks belongs to any file. If yes, it will verify whether that the file has all the blocks associated. If yes, then data node and name node are in sync. Only after this process is done, when you start, only after the process is done, then the Hadoop file system will be available for the users. Okay. So again, this file hdfs-site.xml is very important file. You will see lot more properties in real time. You will see lot more properties. Subsequently, we will touch some more properties in this file, but for now we need 3 properties. So since we are running on single machine, make sure it is set to 1, and then we are setting the name directory to the directory where the name node will store its files. We are setting dfs.data.directory to the place where data node will store its files. Okay, so let us stop at this point. I think next time when we come, tomorrow when we come, so I hope you will procure a machine. I hope you will procure a Ubuntu machine, or basically Linux box, install JDK, install SSH, install Hadoop, and come up to this point. But I know you guys are very smart. Even without us telling, you will actually follow this document that is there. We will send this link in email, and I am sure you are going to finish Hadoop installation. If so, we would like to learn about your experiences and the problems that you face so that you can share it with others. Okay, so let us stop the class today here and let us continue tomorrow with the installation. So ultimate objective is that we are going to install Hadoop and run Hadoop in single node as a cluster. Any questions so far?
What should be the space size when you're trying to install Ubuntu?
So when you try to install Hadoop in Ubuntu, the minimum size that is required is about, minimum you can actually keep up to 5 GB minimum, because when you upload some files, when you test it to create some files on Hadoop file system, if you have just 2 GB, you will run out of space faster. But why do you ask that question? Today you get hard disk with terabytes of data. Like you can buy a hard disk with 300 GB and put it and install it there.
We are having laptops, and most of the space is occupied by Windows file system, so that's why we need to create a partition.
So okay, got it. Now you just make sure that you install VM Player. Okay, VM Player is free for non-commercial use on Windows, and then you get a catch hold of Ubuntu CD and install Ubuntu on VM Player, and you can start with 5 GB at a minimum, not a problem. But when you create a virtual machine, you make sure that you have an extended hard disk configured, in the sense that grow the hard disk size on demand on VM and make it 20 GB. Okay, even though you make it 20 GB, it will not take 20 GB. It will grow to 20 GB over a period of time, but it will take about 2.5 GB for Hadoop installation, including the operating system on Windows. But if you start installing other things that we are going to do, it will go over about 7 GB. So you can also keep about 3 GB for data. So make sure that you have at least 10 to 15 GB on your Windows box.
Okay.
Okay guys, so tomorrow we will continue this session and try to finish off running Hadoop on a single node as a cluster. So tomorrow I will ask Santosh to come with a virtual machine, install it in front of you so that you are aware of it, and then you can install it on your own. So I would say it will take, don't try to, if you try to get into problem, don't worry, it's normal. It will take at least half dozen installation times so that you are perfect with this procedure. Once you are perfect, so my goal would be, by the time you finish this, you would be very hands-on with Hadoop. That is my goal. I hope you guys understand. Okay. Hello? I'm not able to hear from anyone.
Okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
We'll try tomorrow, and if we come across any problem, we'll ask you.
Yes, and Santosh will actually. My email address? Yeah, areddiraja@gmail.com. areddiraja@gmail.com. aredyraja@gmail.com. Okay, guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.